Right now at 5, a police pursuit of a 34-foot camper turns into a manhunt in Oklahoma.
And we have a few showers in Oklahoma this morning. I'll let you know what that means for the forecast, as well as a look at the weekend in your daily forecast.
Plus, Webb City Schools says goodbye to its superintendent as he announces his retirement.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning, 4 states. Hey, Sam, thank you for joining us.
Just trying to turn on the monitors over there.
All right. Well, good morning, 4 states, and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. The time now is 5 a.m. I'm Caitlin O'Shaughnessy.
And I'm meteorologist Sam Lane, and we have a beautiful day shaping up across the area. Although we have a few showers this morning, shouldn't be a big impact on our area. As we look at the radar in motion over the last 4 hours, you can see those scattered showers down to the south, mainly on the Oklahoma side, down in Delaware County, and also starting to sneak now into southwestern parts of Missouri, around Southwest City, Missouri. And you can see that just south of Pineville, over towards Bella Vista, just a few sprinkles and light showers. Really not expecting a whole lot this afternoon. Pollen count today is going to be on the high side, 8.8, but we consider that high moderate. And then tomorrow will be a little bit better, 8.4. So if you're suffering from the ragweed, the nettle, and the chenopod, that's the reason. Your forecast for this afternoon looks pretty good. Partly cloudy skies with highs around 80 degrees, 75 at lunchtime, 78 at 2 o'clock, still 79 degrees at 4 o'clock. And if you're heading out to the bus stop this morning, if you're down in Delaware County, might send a rain jacket with the kiddos with temperatures in the mid-50s. But this afternoon, when they come home, we're going to be looking at temperatures in the upper 70s. And taking a look at the long-range forecast, we're looking for partly cloudy today, fantastic Friday, some morning showers on Saturday, but an unsettled week next week. And I'll get into the details on that in just a little bit.
Thanks, Sam. Well, Oklahoma authorities charge a man with his murders of 3 people. John Brian Good was charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder for the death of Jack Grimes, Dwayne Selby, and Dwayne's mother, Glenda Cookie Parton, in Tulsa. Grimes' remains were found in wooded areas on October 31st, 2021. Selby and Patron's remains were found last month. Yesterday, he pled no contest in another homicide case that occurred in Tulsa. He was sentenced to 32 years in that case. A police pursuit of a 34-foot camper turns into a manhunt by Oklahoma authorities. The pursuit began shortly after 11 yesterday morning in Newton County, Missouri. Ottawa County deputies and the Oklahoma Highway Patrol joined Missouri authorities when the pursuit entered the Sooner State. The pursuit ended just south of East 114. There were 2 men in the pickup. 1 male fled on foot and the second was detained. Police K-9 joined officers on foot and ATVs, as well as a police drone and helicopter. You can follow this story on KOAMnewsnow.com as it is a developing story. The superintendent of the Webb City School District yesterday announced his retirement. Dr. Anthony Rossetti has been with the district for 15 years. In a statement posted on the district's Facebook page, Rossetti said, quote, "The success this district has achieved during my term as superintendent goes to the hard work of our Board of Education, our amazing staff and students, and the unwavering support from our community," end quote. His official retirement date is June 30th of next year. The federal government more than $500,000 additional dollars in Kansas recycling infrastructure projects. The Environmental Protection Agency is making these funds available for Kansas to improve solid waste management planning, data collection, and implementation of plans. It's courtesy of the bipartisan infrastructure law. The investment, totaling $105 million nationwide, is a part of the EPA's largest recycling investment in 30 years. And Kansas Governor Laura Kelly announces 27 cities will receive a total of $22 million for highway improvements. The money will go to improve intersections and state highways, extending through cities as part of the Kansas Department of Transportation's City Connecting Link Improvement Program. In our area, Fort Scott and Pittsburgh will each receive $1.5 million for slope and curve improvements. The city of Girard and Yates Center will each receive $1.5 million for pavement restoration. These funds will become available for the fiscal year 2026. A Webb City, Missouri man is the last of multiple defendants to plead guilty in a case that involved an abduction in Joplin and a murder in Oklahoma. KOAM's Anthony Saviello joins us in studio with more.
On July 15, 2020, the body of Jolene Walker Campbell was found in Mays County, Oklahoma. Trey Akerson is the last of multiple defendants to plead guilty to his involvement in the death of Campbell. According to the United States Attorney's Office of Northern Oklahoma, Akerson had robbed Campbell just a few hours before he and co-defendant Brianna Sloan kidnapped her in Joplin. The three then drove across state borders into Oklahoma. During the trip, Campbell fell asleep. Sloan and Akerson then drove into a field in Mays County where Akerson shot Campbell, cut her throat, and beat her to death, then left the scene with Sloan. As it stands, both Akerson and Sloan face up to life in prison for the murder of Campbell. 7 other defendants have pled guilty to crimes related to obstructing the federal investigation, including witness tampering. Most of these defendants are facing 20 or more years in prison. In a comment made by FBI Special Agent Edward J. Gray, Jolene Campbell left behind a grieving family that deserves justice. We hope they can finally begin to heal from this tragic loss. Thanks to the dedicated efforts of the FBI and our law enforcement partners, the defendants are now facing decades in prison for their involvement in this horrific crime. End quote. We have reached out to the family of Jolene, but they have decided to not speak with the press until sentencing is carried out.
The U.S. Attorney's Office said charges were dismissed against 2 additional defendants. And that's a look at this morning's top news stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News. Carthage and McDonald County face off on the Diamond. We'll have more details in sports. Plus, we'll learn more about an E. coli outbreak that affected 42 people at the University of Arkansas. And we're almost to the weekend. Meteorologist Sam Lane will have what we can expect for this big weekend in the Skywatch Weather Center. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. Carthage High School yesterday, softball, went on the road and took down the Webb City Cardinals 9-1 thanks to a wonderful 4th inning with 8 runs and great pitching performance from Addison Wallace. Yesterday, the Tigers tried to make it 2 in a row at home against McDonald County. A Big 8 and COC crossover matchup between McDonald County and Carthage. In the 2nd inning we go, 1-0 Carthage. This ball is popped up and it looks like trouble, but Natalie Gimling comes out of nowhere to make a huge catch to get that out. And in the 3rd inning, the same score. This ball is hit deep to the warning track, but Elizabeth Willis makes the catch against the Finch and Carthage gets out of the inning. So in the 5th inning, game is tied 1-1. Lexa Youngblood comes through clutch as even Willis scores. It's an RBI single and Carthage takes a 2-1 lead. In the top of the 7th, last chance for McDonald County, but Ashlyn Brust is going to track it down and that will do it. Carthage hangs on to win the close battle as they beat McDonald County 2-1. Missouri Southern's men's golf opens the season at the Blue Tiger Fall Invitational at Lake of the Ozarks. It's the first time the Lions have been on the course as a team since the NCAA Super Regional in Minnesota this past May. Missouri Southern has been staying sharp over the summer. The Lions win as a team and have 3 golfers placed in the top 10 individually. Lewis Lyman comes in 3rd overall after shooting a .216 through 3 rounds. Josh Hamnett begins his senior year with a 7th place finish, and Ben Mackman finished tied for 10th with a .220 through 3 rounds. Missouri Southern finishes 1 stroke behind better than Central Oklahoma to win the 13-team competition. Still to come, the new Chinese ambassador to Afghanistan is welcomed to the country by the Taliban in a very lavish ceremony. Plus, we're going to check the 7-day forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns, so stay with us. And welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. We have a beautiful morning shaping up across the area. A few clouds and a few sprinkles out there. Right now at Indigo Sky Casino and Resort, things are looking pretty nice down in that part of Oklahoma. Right now in Joplin, we're sitting at 58 degrees. Dew point is 50, so the humidity is a little bit high at 75%, and the pressure is at 30.08 inches, and the visibility at 10 miles. Here's a look at the radar. You can see those sprinkles and light showers down in Oklahoma stretching from Osage County into southern Washington County, all the way over into southern and central parts of Delaware County. Zooming in on that activity, you can see just now south of Jay along Highway 59, almost down to Bull Hollow, and that extends on over into northwestern Arkansas around Bella Vista. So our friends there having a few little sprinkles this morning. Temperatures are quite varied this morning. Look at Stockton. They're down to 50 right now, 53 in Nevada, 51 in Fort Scott. Then you start getting into the mid to upper 50s and then some mid 60s by the time you get down to Veneta, and in Nowata with 65 even warmer down in Jay where they're currently sitting at 66. Dew points are going to be on the low side today, but as we go into Saturday morning, we'll start to see the moisture increasing across our area, and that will help a few more sprinkles on Saturday morning, especially again down on the Oklahoma side. Rain chances though for the next 36 hours are going to be basically zero for most of the area. And looking at the upper level flow, we do have that weak system that's going to be swinging by on Saturday morning, but that rapidly pulls off towards the east. And as we go into Monday, we're going to go into a northwesterly flow pattern with the ridge-of-high pressure setting up over the mountain west, and that's going to keep things dry for the most part. And then as we go into the latter part of next week, that's when things might change a little bit. So as we take a look at the rain forecast on Saturday morning, you notice rainfall amounts are not really expected to be all that impressive. Maybe 0.05 of an inch of rain down in Oklahoma with some of those heavier showers. So today we're going to see partly cloudy skies with highs in the upper 70s with southeasterly winds. A pretty nice day. And then as we go into Friday morning, we're going to see partly cloudy skies once again with lows in the 50s across the region. And then Friday afternoon, we might start to see a few sprinkles up to the north and west with highs in the upper 70s, maybe touching 80 in a few spots. And then as we go into Saturday morning, that's when those sprinkles and showers will be moving across the area with lows in the 50s and 60s. And then for your Saturday afternoon, maybe an isolated shower here or there, mainly down to the south, with highs in the mid to upper 70s. So looking at your next 7 days, it's looking like this. Today around 80 degrees, 81 tomorrow with those sprinkles on Saturday morning, and then dry on Sunday and Monday, and then increasing clouds on Tuesday with another chance of showers on Wednesday. And then look as we go into the latter part of next week, it gets a little bit more unsettled and maybe some more rain chances as we go into the latter part of next week and the early part of next weekend, with highs in the 70s and lower 80s for the most part, and then lows will be in the 50s and then creeping up into the 60s, which is actually kind of around normal for this time of year. So all in all, not a bad forecast. Now you want to stay tuned because we're going to be back with Health Watch when we come back, when the KOAM Morning News keeps rolling on.
Topping Health Watch this morning, Black, Asian, and Hispanic adults face a higher risk of heart disease compared to white adults, regardless of the socioeconomic status. That's according to a new study published in the Journal of the American Heart Association. The study's authors say that improvement in education, income, and employment status may not benefit people in all racial or ethnic groups equally. Instead, they said societal stressors like racism, medical mistrust, and unequal access to health care might play a more critical role in their cardiovascular health. Despite these findings, the authors say lawmakers should continue to advance policies that improve socioeconomic factors for everyone. Moderna says its experimental flu vaccine has a stronger immune response than what's currently on the market. The shot is mRNA-based, and it is called mRNA 1010. Moderna says that in a phase 3 study, it shows increased immunity against 4 strains of the flu virus. The company is now moving towards what it hopes will be approval from federal regulators. Moderna is racing against its competitor Pfizer to bring mRNA technology to flu vaccines. It's already testing the technology in other respiratory virus vaccines, including RSV and COVID. Both Moderna and Pfizer want to pursue plans to combine COVID mRNA shots with vaccines for flu and RSV. A person's sense of purpose declines leading up to and following a diagnosis of dementia or cognitive decline. That conclusion comes from a new study published in the Journal of JAMA Network. Study researchers say that a sense of purpose and direction is an important factor in good health for adults. Previous studies found that those with more purpose in life are less likely to develop Alzheimer's disease and other types of dementia. Data from more than 30,000 people across 2 studies over the last couple of decades was analyzed. Some signs of decline in feeling of purpose were seen in the years leading up to cognitive impairment. However, that decrease in feeling of purpose was more pronounced after impairment was identified. Last month, an outbreak of E. coli affected 42 people at the University of Arkansas. 4 people were hospitalized, some suffering severe complications. One mom is crediting documentary on a foodborne illness for helping to quickly identify her daughter's symptoms. Bradley Blackburn has more.
19-year-old Camille Honey was ready to start the school year. She had moved into her sorority house and came home one last time before classes started. That's when Camille's mom, Chris, says she became violently ill right in front of her eyes.
She couldn't hold a sip of water down.
Chris recognized the symptoms because she had been watching the Netflix documentary Poisoned, the dirty truth about your food.
All these products are likely contaminated.
It focuses on foodborne illnesses, including the strain of E. coli Camille had.
At the emergency room, I asked for the stool sample and I said, "You're gonna think I'm crazy. I'm watching this show. It's just in my head. Please just, entertain me. Let's just do this."
Symptoms include severe stomach cramps, diarrhea, and vomiting. The CDC says about 5 to 10% of people develop a life-threatening complication known as hemolytic uremic syndrome, which is what happened to Camille.
She was using every muscle in her body to breathe. I thought she was gonna die.
Camille went into kidney failure, and doctors put her on dialysis.
They're unable to keep anything down. They might become dehydrated. And when it gets that serious, it has the potential of affecting the kidneys.
The family's not sure Camille's kidney function will ever fully return, but they're hopeful. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News.
That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
All right, we're watching radar this morning, especially for our folks and friends down in northeastern Oklahoma. You can see over the last 4 hours, we've had a string of showers moving from west to east across the northern part of the Sooner State. Zooming in on some of that activity, you can see a few scattered showers near Jay, extending down towards Bull Hollow. Those are moving over towards the east, and that will start to move into northwestern Arkansas, where there are also a few showers right now around Bella Vista, straddling the Missouri-Arkansas line. Also a little shower south of Gravette and in and around the Bentonville area. Not a whole lot of rain expected with those showers this morning. If you're sending the kids out to school this morning, 56 degrees with temperatures in the mid-50s with partly to mostly cloudy skies. Then as we go through the afternoon, we're going to see more sunshine with highs in the upper 70s to around 80 degrees here and there. And looking down the lane, we're going to have a partly cloudy day across the region. Fantastic for your Friday. Then we might see some morning showers again on Saturday morning. Very light expected. And then as we go into the early part of next week, we're going to be into an unsettled pattern with more scattered showers and storms possible as we go through the extended forecast period. And of course, I'll have more details on all of that coming up in your morning news and weather when we come back right after this.
Right now at 5:30, a new sculpture gets added to Mercy Park.
And we have a few showers on radar this morning. I'll let you know what that means for your forecast as well as a look at the weekend.
Plus, second-year students at KCU give free health assessments to local elementary students.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning, 4 states, and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. The time now is 5:28 a.m. I'm Caitlin O'Shaughnessy.
And I'm meteorologist Sam Lane, and it looks like a nice morning out there so far.
Looking very fall-like.
That's right, very fall-like with temperatures in the 50s, even some upper 40s. Not that far away. Right now on radar, you can see a few scattered showers down to the south in Oklahoma this morning, and we're looking at those mainly moving from west to east over the last few hours. You can see a few heavier showers near Lake Oologah right now, but in our local area, zooming in on that, you can see a few sprinkles in and around Jay. That's moving over towards northwestern Arkansas, where they have a few showers around Gravette and also around Bella Vista. And for our friends in Bentonville this morning, nothing really major impactful across that area. We're looking at the allergies today in the moderate category, 8.8. So if you're suffering, it's probably because of the ragweed. Also a little bit of nettle and chenopod thrown in. Tomorrow, a little bit better, 8.4, which is still considered moderate. Your forecast for this afternoon looks pretty good. Temperatures in the lower 80s in a few spots. Most areas will stay in the 70s, 75 at lunchtime, 78 at 2 o'clock. and 79 by 4 p.m. And with the school bus heading out this morning, we're looking at temperatures in the mid-50s. And then by the time they head home from school, we're looking at temperatures in the upper 70s with partly cloudy skies. And again, those sprinkles will mainly be this morning. So partly cloudy today, then fantastic for your Friday. And then as we head into Saturday morning, we might see a few scattered sprinkles or showers and then more unsettled weather next week. And of course, I'll detail all that in your forecast in just a little bit. Caitlin?
KCU Joplin provided free health assessments to local elementary school students. Fifth grade students from Kelsey Norman, McKinley, and Irving elementary schools participated in Score One for Health. The preventative health screening program includes dental, blood pressure checks, and physical assessments. For many second-year medical students, this was their first time being face-to-face with real-life patients.
But there's nothing in medicine like really learning how to do that with a live person. And so they are learning, they are also giving. And the kids, I hope, are learning and they are also giving. So it's a really neat exchange.
It's more interesting and they don't use big words as much, so you can understand them better.
If a medical student saw something concerning about their patients, clinical faculty was available to offer support. A first of its kind, Seniors Unified Olympics was held in Columbus, Kansas. Special Olympics of Kansas partnered with the community of Columbus to host Seniors Unified Olympics, aiming to get everyone moving. Special athletes 45 years and older are paired with a senior citizen to explore the various activities. Volunteer high school students assist the teams and cheer them on.
So this is the first time we've ever done this before. Our athletes, our Special Olympic athletes 45 and over, are being paired with a senior citizen from senior housing around the area, and then they get a high school volunteer with them, and they get to go around and do all sorts of adaptive events.
Special Olympics Kansas partnered with campuses and medical lodges for Seniors Unified Olympics. Mercy Park welcomes a new addition to its Rotary Sculpture Garden. Strength and Courage is the name of the latest sculpture, a bronze lion joining 19 other sculptures populating the park. This work is by artist Catherine Gray Johnson, who sculpted the park's 2021 edition, Wishing on a Star. For her, Strength and Courage has a personal meaning.
I said, yeah, I'll be on board. So that's how the line got started. But the Strength and Courage is about my parents giving me the strength and the courage right here in Joplin, Missouri to do all of this. And if it wasn't for my parents, wouldn't be here.
The garden is the result of a collaboration between Joplin's two Rotary clubs, the Rotary Club of Joplin and the Joplin Daybreak Rotary. The Missouri State Board for Higher Education yesterday approved a new designation for Missouri Southern. Each university in Missouri is given at least one designation for its mission. MSSU's designation has been International and Global Education. This approval clears a major hurdle towards the university adding health and life sciences and immersive learning designations.
So the statewide mission is a way to recognize institutions for specific strength or focal point within their role within public higher education in Missouri. So, I think the additions of these two certainly hold up some of our strengths in health and life sciences. And that certainly connects with our new Health Science Innovation Center that we're constructing soon.
The designations still need to be approved by the state legislature before taking effect. Lawmakers will consider it next year. The Missouri Department of Conservation asked hunters to share the harvest. The MDC asked deer hunters to donate deer meat loaf to local food banks and food pantries to help feed hungry Missourians. Donating is easy. Simply take harvested deer to an approved meat processor and let the processor know you have much venison to donate. Meat processing fees are covered entirely or in part by numerous local sponsors, along with statewide sponsors. To get the share, the harvest venison, contact local food banks or food pantries. And that's a look at your top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. We'll meet a Wichita woman who celebrated her 107th birthday. Plus, the Biden administration makes a new push for the release of the Wall Street journalist who is being detained in Russia. We'll have the latest. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. But first, here's a live look from Immigrant Park in Pittsburgh, Kansas. Topping World Watch, a growing humanitarian crisis in the Mediterranean, back-to-back natural disasters in Libya and Morocco has left thousands displaced. In Morocco, more than 2,000 people were killed after a powerful earthquake near the country's Atlas Mountains. Meanwhile, the death toll continues to rise after massive flooding swept through the nation's coast. Lauren Green has the story.
Helicopters help recover the remains of flood victims in the Libyan coastal city of Derna, as rescue teams from around the world comb through streets, wrecked buildings, and even the sea.
This entire city has been annihilated.
Derna was nearly wiped clean over the weekend after 2 dams collapsed during Mediterranean storm Daniel. Flash flooding in the region killing more than 5,000 people, a number that is expected to rise as thousands remain missing.
My sister, her sons, her daughter, and granddaughter, a total of 11.
The world is now rallying to help with humanitarian aid. Egypt, France, and Italy sending teams to help with search efforts, while Jordan and other countries sent food, tents, and other supplies to help the more than 30,000 people the UN estimates are now homeless. Similar relief efforts are underway in Morocco, where aftershocks were still being felt Wednesday following last week's deadly 6.8 magnitude earthquake. And so far, only 4 countries, Spain, the United Kingdom, the United Arab Emirates, and Qatar, have been allowed inside. Morocco's government saying poorly coordinated aid would be, quote, counterproductive.
The United States stands by the Libyan and Moroccan people.
Despite this, the Biden administration says it's ready to help and has sent a U.S. assessment team to Morocco to support local authorities. It's also made available up to $1 million in humanitarian aid.
The Biden administration has also offered emergency funding to relief organizations in Libya. And the Taliban on Wednesday welcomed China's new ambassador to the country with a lavish ceremony at the presidential palace. The Taliban made this announcement on X, formerly known as Twitter. Zhao Zhang was met by Taliban Prime Minister Mohammad Hassan Akhund, along with other senior officials. China is among a handful of countries, including Pakistan, Iran, and Russia, that continue to maintain a diplomatic presence in Afghanistan since the Taliban takeover in 2021. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un says Russia has his country's full support in what he calls its sacred fight against West. Kim met with President Vladimir Putin, and Greg Pelkett has the details.
A potentially dangerous love fest in Russia. President Vladimir Putin greeting North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. After a long trip via armored train from Pyongyang, they met at a rocket launch site in Siberia. According to U.S. officials, they both are looking for something. Russia needs munitions for its war in Ukraine. North Korea has stockpiles of Soviet-era stuff. North Korea needs high-tech gear to advance its missile program, on display at the Russian facility. And both need support amid various degrees of global isolation. The North Korean leader was happy to offer that.
Russia is currently engaged in a just fight to defend its sovereign rights. It takes this opportunity to reaffirm we will always stand with Russia.
And so did President Putin.
I want to propose a toast to the further strengthening of our friendship and cooperation.
As for trade and military gear, that could be more difficult. That traffic between countries like Russia and North Korea or the DPRK is banned by the UN.
Any transfer of arms between the two countries would violate UN arms embargo on the DPRK.
But where there's a will, there's a way, and definitely a need. 2 more short-range missiles fired today by North Korea into a nearby sea. Ukraine's Odessa port region slammed overnight by Russian blasts.
Neither one feels that they are really getting what they need and want, so they turn to each other.
Chairman Kim has not finished with his Russian trip. He will next tour an aircraft factory and then watch a naval demonstration. Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich has spent the last 6 months in a Russian jail cell, and now the White House is working to get him back. C.B. Cotton has more from New York.
No family should have to watch their loved one being used as a political pawn.
The Biden administration making a big new push for the release of an American journalist they say is being wrongfully imprisoned overseas. Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich was detained in Russia about 6 months ago. Since then, he's been held in a Russian jail, accused of spying for the U.S. government. His family joined the U.S. ambassador to the UN on Wednesday, urging world leaders to help secure his release.
If this can happen to my brother, it can happen to any journalist trying to report the news. We just want Evan home.
Gershkovich's mother says he's holding up and staying strong despite the conditions of his imprisonment. She says they've been able to exchange letters, and her son is doing his best to keep his spirits up.
We are glad he's kept his sense of humor, teasing me that the prison food reminds him of my cooking.
Meanwhile, his lawyers have released a 40-page letter requesting a United Nations panel declare Gershkovich arbitrarily detained and asking the UN to make an appeal to Russia for his release. Regardless of whether that happens, the Biden administration says Evan and other Americans being held by Russia will not be forgotten.
Mark my word, the United States will not rest until Evan and Paul and all wrongfully detained Americans are home, safe and sound.
In less than a week, a Moscow court is expected to hear an appeal of Gershkovich's pretrial detention, which was extended until November 30th. That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. We have a beautiful morning shaping up across the area, including our friends down in Seneca, Missouri at Indigo Sky Casino and Resort, looking pretty good right now. Traffic moving along pretty nicely in Pittsburgh with a temperature of 52 degrees, so it's kind of chilly. You might need a light jacket out there with calm winds, dew point of 50 degrees, so the humidity's up there at 94%. Here's a look at radar right now live. You can see a few scattered showers from south of Wichita, right through the Bartlesville area, across northern Rogers County, down into central and southern parts of Delaware County. You can see those scattered showers just to the east of Jay, extending on over towards northwestern Arkansas. Check out these temperatures this morning. 50 degrees right now in Stockton, 51 in Nevada, 50 in Fort Scott, so definitely need a jacket up there. Then you start getting into the mid 50s and lower 60s, and then some mid 60s like for our folks down in Nowata with 64, same thing in Veneta, and 66 degrees over there in Jay. Dew points today are going to be on the low side, but as we go into Saturday morning, we're going to see the dew points increase just a little bit with the scattered moisture around. That's going to help with some of those sprinkles and widely scattered showers on Saturday morning. Then the dry air comes back in on Saturday night and Sunday and into Monday. Rain chances today are going to be basically zero for the next 36 hours. Really not expecting a whole lot. Here's the next storm system that's going to be making its impact on us on Saturday, but it's a very quick system. It's going to rapidly move in and out. And then as we go into Monday, this ridge of high pressure is going to start to build in, and that will dry us out again as we go into Sunday and Monday and into the early part of next week. But then it gets a little bit unsettled as we go towards the latter part of next week. Rainfall amounts on this next system on Saturday are going to be very, very light, maybe 0.05 of an inch of rain down in Nowata, maybe a couple of hundredths down in Veneta. Not expecting a whole lot from this next storm system, just very isolated showers. Today we're going to see partly cloudy skies with highs in the upper 70s, maybe touching 80 degrees in a few spots with southeasterly winds. Then as we go into tonight, we're going to see lows dropping back down once again into the 50s, maybe some lower 50s up to the north like Mountain City with 50, and in Fort Scott, mid 50s elsewhere. And then on Friday afternoon, partly cloudy skies with highs in the mid to upper 70s, maybe a sprinkle or two developing up to the north and west on Friday afternoon and evening. Then as we go into Saturday morning, you see those scattered showers moving across the area, very light, very widely scattered with lows in the 50s and 60s. Then on Saturday afternoon, the sun comes back out, temperatures warm into the mid to upper 70s, maybe a few 80s out towards the west. And over the next 7 days, we're going to have a pretty nice weekend for the most part. Today, 80, tomorrow, 81. Here's those sprinkles on Saturday morning. Then Sunday looking pretty good with a high of 82. And then Monday, 84. Getting a little bit warm on Tuesday with increasing clouds and a high of 85. And then here comes the next round of rain on Wednesday, a 30% chance of scattered showers and storms, but a better chance of storms late next week and next weekend with highs in the upper 70s and lower 80s. So right now, around this time of year, we are actually right at normal, maybe slightly below, but that's a lot better than what we experienced the week before with temperatures in the 90s. We're going to be back with more news and weather, of course, right after the break. But first, here's a live look from Immigrant Park in Pittsburgh, Kansas this morning. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
A woman in Wichita celebrates her 107th birthday. Roman Campa has her story.
It's a song she's heard for more than 100 years. Imogene Tice is with friends and family to celebrate her 107th birthday. And when you ask her how she's feeling,
I had a feel my birthday.
she'll tell you.
I just feel like any other day.
Imogene was born near Beloit, Kansas in 1916. She continued her life throughout the state and now resides here at Azaria Health. But it's the journey in between that her family says is memorable.
Oh, she's very special. Our families always got together for all the Christmas and special days, you know.
Her nephew Larry is always ready to perform for her birthday and others.
It makes me feel special, and I just want to do something great for her. That's it.
She means the world to her family and to those who take care of her.
It's amazing. She's just a wonderful lady. And she can also tell you the way it is, too.
Well, we're a little older.
She'll let you know how she feels.
2, 3.
Absolutely love those old-timey pictures that show all 107 years of her life. Well, don't go anywhere. We got more news for you coming right up. As a toddler, Reuben Flowers posed with his pilot dad in an airplane. Now, nearly 30 years later, he's posing with his pilot dad again as the first officer on his father's flight. Flowers says it was his dad's dream to fly with his dad, and the timing was perfect. Flowers started his career just as his father, also named Reuben Flowers, was nearing retirement as a captain. Thanks to a brief overlap, father and son were able to fly together and recreate that iconic photo on a flight from Omaha, Nebraska to Chicago in the spring. The elder Flowers says seeing his son next to him for his last landing was a dream come true. And today we celebrate donuts, cream of the crop. September 14th is National Cream-Filled Donut Day. Well, the most famous one is the Boston Cream Donut. It's a delicious pastry filled with vanilla custard and chocolate glaze. But there's an entire assortment of cream-filled donuts you can enjoy Thursday. With fall right around the corner, maple cream may be your donut of choice, or there's orange cream, caramel cream, and even marshmallow cream. Cream-filled pastries have been around since the 1800s, and people loved them then just as they do now. One Colorado man won the lottery, and his first purchases are a bit out of the ordinary. According to the Colorado Lottery, Waldemar Bud Tash's lucky numbers were picked for the September 6th drawing worth more than $5 million. The Colorado Lottery says Bud chose the cash option of more than $2 million. To celebrate, the 77-year-old bought his wife flowers. His wife told a local TV station that she was, quote, pleasantly surprised since she normally doesn't receive flowers from him. Bud also made sure to get something for himself, so he bought a watermelon. He says he plans to spend the rest of the money on his wife's surgeries, adding more to his car collection and donating to charities.
Nice move there, getting the wife some flowers. We have some sprinkles for some showers for the flower gardens out there today. And as we go through the weekend, we're going to see another storm system moving in from the west, and that's going to spread some more light showers in our area on Saturday morning. Then that system will rapidly move away and we'll be left with northwesterly flow into the early part of next week. And with that next storm system, we're not really expecting a whole lot of rain from it. Maybe a sprinkle or two, maybe 0.05 of an inch in some of the heavier showers down on the Oklahoma side. So today we're looking at highs in the upper 70s to maybe 80 degrees with partly cloudy skies on southeasterly winds. Then as we go into tonight, partly cloudy skies, mostly fair, with lows in the mid to upper 50s across the area, maybe some lower 50s up to the north, like Mound City and Fort Scott. Then as we go into tomorrow afternoon, increasing clouds out towards the west with some scattered showers possible there, with highs in the upper 70s to around 80 degrees. And then as we go into Saturday morning, again, those sprinkles moving through with lows in the 50s and 60s. And then Saturday afternoon looks pretty good with highs in the 70s. And over the next 7 days, we have a pretty good Sunday shaping up with a high of 82 degrees. And then Monday, 84, 85 on Tuesday, and a better chance of storms on Wednesday into the latter part of next week, but especially next weekend with highs in the upper 70s and lower 80s. We'll be back.
Right now at 6, a Webb City man becomes the final defendant to plead guilty to an abduction in Joplin and a murder in Oklahoma.
And we have a few scattered showers this morning on radar moving across northeastern Oklahoma and northwestern Arkansas. I'll let you know what that means for the forecast.
Plus, Southeast Kansas holds a Seniors Unified Olympics for Special Olympians and some senior athletes.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning, 4 states, and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. The time now is 6 a.m. I'm Caitlin O'Shaughnessy.
And I'm meteorologist Sam Lane, and it looks like it's going to be a great day across the area.
Yeah, it's gearing up for a pretty good weekend, as a matter of fact.
Exactly. Lots of nice weather out there to be had with temperatures in the 70s and 80s today. A few sprinkles this morning, but really not all that bad. They're very isolated right now down in northeastern Oklahoma. You can see over the last few hours, they're mainly moving from west to east across the Sooner State, now starting to move into northwestern Arkansas. Zooming in on that activity, you can see now most of it is crossing the state line there along Arkansas 43, just to the west of Decatur, moving over towards Gravette, and also a few scattered showers over near Bentonville this morning, but that's about it. This afternoon, we're going to see the ragweed being a problem once again in the moderate category with 8.8 on the allergies. Tomorrow, a little bit better at 8.4, also with some nettle and some chenopod thrown in there. So if you're suffering from the allergies, that's probably why. Your forecast for this afternoon looking pretty good. Around lunchtime, 75 degrees with partly cloudy skies. That continues to around 2 o'clock with 78. We'll top out at about 80 degrees today in Joplin, 79 for 4 o'clock with partly cloudy conditions. And the bus stop forecast this morning, looking pretty good. Temperatures in the mid-50s. Maybe a rain jacket might be handy down in northwestern Arkansas with those scattered showers. But by afternoon, all those showers will be gone and we'll be left with partly cloudy skies and heading home temperature of about 89 degrees. Looking down the lane, we have a beautiful day shaping up today and tomorrow. Scattered showers on Saturday morning and unsettled next week, and I'll detail all that in our forecast coming up just a little bit. Caitlin?
Thanks, Sam. Well, a Webb City, Missouri man is the last of multiple defendants to plead guilty in a case that involved an abduction in Joplin and a murder in Oklahoma. 29-year-old Trey Ackerson pleads guilty to second-degree murder for killing 35-year-old Jolene Campbell in July of 2020. Investigators say Ackerman robbed Campbell in Joplin. Then Ackerson, along with co-defendant Brianna Sloan, kidnapped Campbell and took her to Mays County, Oklahoma. Ackerson admits he killed Campbell there by shooting her, cutting her throat, and beating her. He could get up to life in prison without parole. 7 other people from the Joplin area have pleaded guilty for their various roles related to the kidnapping or for conspiring to obstruct the federal investigation, including threatening witnesses. Campbell was 35 years old and leaves a grieving family. After this 9th and final conviction, an FBI special agent in the case says, quote, "We hope they can finally begin to heal from this tragic loss." Oklahoma authorities charge a man in with the murders of 3 people. John Brian Good was charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder for the death of Jack Grimes, Dwayne Selby, and Dwayne's mother, Glenda Cookie Parton, in Tulsa. Grimes' remains were found in wooded areas on October 31st, 2021. Selby and Parton's remains were found last month. Yesterday, he pled no contest in another homicide case that occurred in Tulsa. He was sentenced to 32 years in that case. A police pursuit of a 34-foot camper turns into a manhunt by Oklahoma authorities. The pursuit began shortly after 11 yesterday morning in Newton County, Missouri. Ottawa County deputies and the Oklahoma Highway Patrol joined Missouri authorities when the pursuit entered the Sooner State. The pursuit ended just south of East 114. There were 2 men in the pickup. 1 male fled on foot and the second was detained. Police K-9 joined officers on foot and ATVs, as well as a police drone and helicopter. You can follow this story on KOAMnewsnow.com as it is a developing story. And to be the first to see breaking news, weather, and sports, download the KOAM News app. It's available free of charge in the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. Just search for the KOAM News app. A first of its kind nationally, Seniors Unified Olympics was held in Columbus, Kansas. KOAM's Amber Jenkins has more.
Special Olympics Kansas partnered with the community of Columbus to host Seniors Unified Olympics, aiming to get everyone moving.
I feel like the goal of today is just movement, inclusion, socialization, and just to kind of get out of the house a little bit for a day and spend some time with some friends.
Special athletes 45 years and older were paired with a senior citizen to explore various activities.
Good job!
Volunteer high school students assist the teams and cheer them on.
Hey, at least you're having fun, right?
So we paired them up just as we tried to keep kind of similar ages, basically. But other than that, we just kind of went a little bit at random.
I just met them today. We didn't know who we were getting, but that's probably I like being surprised with it. I like getting to know more of them.
The participants appreciate the community coming together for this event. They're also thankful for this day off work.
Man, I'm feeling good. I feel great. That's what I do at work all the time. I feel great.
The event was expected to have enough participants for 15 teams, but ended with more than 30. The organizers say that's a good sign.
Yeah, this is the first time they've ever done this in the entire state and the nation that we know of. We just kind of came up with this idea and we went with it.
Reporting in Columbus, Amber Jenkins, KOAM News.
Special Olympics Kansas partnered with Compass and Medical Lodges for Senior Unified Olympics. That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in the first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News. A 2-week-long manhunt finally comes to an end after the convicted Pennsylvania killer was captured by authorities. Plus, why venomous scorpions are turning up in California's Coachella Valley, putting some residents on edge. And meteorologist Sam Lane returns with another look at your Thursday forecast. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. We'll be right back, but first, here's a live look from Immigrant Park in Pittsburgh, Kansas. Topping Nation Watch this morning, invasive venomous scorpions are turning up in California's Coachella Valley, putting some residents on edge. Bianca Ventura reports.
This is an unpleasant and unwelcome invasion.
Concerned residents, the Vector Control District, and biologists combed through this Palm Desert neighborhood off Cook Street in search of the bark scorpion, one of the most venomous scorpions in North America. Because scorpions are fluorescent, we had to wear these UV safety goggles and use black lights to track them. Native species like this one are much less of a threat, to the point where Dr. Hayes feels comfortable picking it up with his bare hands.
So this is the dune scorpion. And if this were to sting me, it would only hurt about 10 minutes.
About half an hour into our search, we found several scorpions that fit the description of a bark scorpion. They were hidden in crevices like bricks and landscape rocks, trying to make a quick escape.
It's either Arizona or Baja bark scorpion. So there's a genetic study that suggests they're different, but it was not based on a large sample size. So I don't have a lot of confidence that they're distinct species.
Unlike our native species, a bark scorpion sting can put you in the hospital.
You're highly unlikely to die. You might wish you were dead, but you're gonna do okay. It's gonna hurt a long time, and you may have some symptoms of neurotoxicity, some systemic symptoms that can linger for days.
In the event of a severe bark scorpion sting, Dr. Hayes says the sooner you get to a doctor and access to anti-venom, the better. Do you think that you'll reach out to local hospitals to make that anti-venom available here in the Valley?
We do have a really good relationship with a lot of our hospitals and a lot of our nurses, so it is something that we'd be happy to share with them and just let them know that it's there. It's not really under our purview to say what they should have at their hospitals.
They're going to spread, and the reality is they could spread extensively, and they're a nuisance. You can't keep them out of your homes very well.
We'd love to help the neighborhood try to figure out how they can help themselves, show them how they can go hunting and find new things and try to do that exclusion for themselves.
Officials say if you don't feel comfortable getting rid of the bark scorpion yourself, it's best to leave it to the professionals or leave them alone for now. In Palm Desert, Bianca Ventura, News Channel 3.
A federal appeals court blocked a California law that prohibited the marketing of firearms to children on Wednesday. When Governor Gavin Newsom signed the bill into law last July, it was quickly challenged by pro-gun organizations. The groups, which included youth target shooting clubs, argued the law violated gun manufacturers' freedom of speech. The panel agreed and pulled the law would likely violate the plaintiff's free speech rights, saying it would do little to nothing to reduce gun violence. Newsom's office did not respond to a request for comment. And a federal judge in Texas ruled Wednesday that a regulation intended to preserve the Obama-era Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, aka DACA, program is unlawful. The order doesn't impact current beneficiaries of the program, but the move delivered to a major blow to the Biden administration. Last year, the administration moved to preserve the program, which protects undocumented immigrants who were brought to the U.S. as children, and released a rule to codify the policy into a federal regulation. Attorneys for Hunter Biden have filed a lawsuit against a former Trump White House aide. The suit, filed in federal court in California, accuses Garrett Ziegler of illegal hacking in violation of federal computer privacy laws. Ziegler worked in the Trump White House from February 2019 until January 2021 as a policy analyst. The suit alleges that since leaving his White House post, Ziegler tried to access devices that purportedly belonged to Hunter Biden. Earlier this year, Hunter Biden's team called on the Justice Department to open a criminal probe into Ziegler and others they say distributed information obtained through alleged hacking. Ziegler's attorneys have not responded to a request for comment. And residents in the Philadelphia suburbs slept easier overnight after police caught a convicted murderer, Daniello Cavalante, ending in a tense 2-week-long manhunt. CBS News' Jared Hill has more on how it all unfolded from New York.
Cheers from a relieved community after convicted killer Danilo Cavalcante was taken into custody yesterday in Chester County, Pennsylvania.
Our nightmare is finally over and the good guys won.
The search for Danilo Cavalcante is over.
The clean-shaven 34-year-old was captured about 20 miles from the prison that he escaped from 2 weeks ago, breaking out by scaling a wall. Police say the final standoff was put into motion when a home burglary alarm was tripped just after midnight within the search area. About an hour later, an aircraft using thermal technology picked up a heat signal. Then just before 8 a.m., tactical units surrounded Cavalcante. He tried to escape with a stolen rifle, but law enforcement released a canine to hold him. Cavalcante sustained a dog bite injury to his scalp, which was treated on the scene. Authorities say 4-year-old law enforcement dog Yoda played a key role in the capture.
The dog subdued him, and team members from both of those teams immediately moved in. He continued to resist, but was forcibly taken into custody.
The 14-day manhunt paralyzed the Philadelphia suburbs, temporarily closing businesses and schools. Now residents are expressing relief.
Everyone can just exhale finally. It's nice.
Police say Cavalcante was cooperative when interviewed. His preliminary hearing is scheduled in 2 weeks. Jared Hill, CBS News.
Danilo Cavalcante will continue serving his life sentence at a state correctional facility for the brutal 2021 stabbing murder of his ex-girlfriend. That's a look at some of today's top national stories. Now let's take it over to Sam Lane with a look at your forecast.
All right, thank you very much. The forecast this morning looks like a few scattered showers. Looking at radar, you can see those moving from west to east across Oklahoma this morning. Now it's starting to move into northwestern Arkansas. Zooming in on some of that activity, you can see a few scattered showers just west of Decatur, Arkansas, moving over towards Gravette and eventually on over towards Bentonville. And the pollen today is going to be 8.8. Tomorrow a little bit better at 8.4. We'll have more right after this.
Thanks to dozens of volunteers, a woman in a specialized wheelchair has reached Colorado's highest peak. Colorado Spencer Wilson talked with her about what it meant to get back on top after wondering if she'd ever be able to actually climb a summit again.
Great day doing something I love outdoors, hiking and...
Chris has been in the chair for almost 7 years now after an accident in Clear Creek Canyon.
Never thought by the end of 7 steps into my hike I would be paralyzed at the bottom of a canyon.
She fell the equivalent of 8 stories down.
I could feel up here, and I looked at my wrist, and I knew it was broken. And then when I was touching my lower body, I couldn't feel anything at all. And I knew right then I was paralyzed.
Unable to walk again, she's entered a different phase of her life, and she's finding new experiences along the way, thanks to the Lockwood Foundation.
I got to climb a 14er again. Me in a wheelchair got to accomplish Mount Elbert, the highest peak in Colorado. This is amazing.
Volunteers spent all of last week taking turns pushing, pulling, and lifting Chris up the trail to the top.
I'd hear them, as we got higher, just behind me, they're out of breath and they're struggling, but they never gave up.
They camped overnight and started again Sunday, bright and early.
About over halfway up Mount Elbert, and the sunrise, we got started at 5:45 this morning.
And as the sun rose,
How far we've made this journey. We are almost to the top.
so did her spirit.
I was high on life. I was high on Colorado.
My words can't even describe the feeling that I think all of us have, but being more emotional that I got to get on top of the world again.
A sight she hasn't seen since the accident, a uniquely Colorado experience within her reach again.
If they want to do it, there's a way to do it. Don't put it off. Life is short. You never know what tomorrow has.
And her advice to anyone on how to make the most of it all?
You just got to get up every day, get out of bed, and do something. As my motto is, get up, get out, get rolling. Every day.
Well, just like Chris said, let's make the most out of every day. Now, let's turn it over to Sam, who has a look at the forecast.
All right, we're looking at partly cloudy skies today with a high of around 80 degrees. We'll have more news and weather when we come back. Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News. It's looking like a great day so far with mostly fair skies, including Indigo Sky Casino and Resort down and just outside of Seneca, Missouri. A little bit of clouds down there with some scattered showers. We'll show you that on radar in a moment. Right now in Pittsburgh, traffic moving along pretty nicely, 51 degrees. Calm wind, so it feels like 51 out there, and the pressure is at 30.08 inches of mercury. Here's a look at radar. You can see those scattered showers stretching from south central Kansas right through northeast Oklahoma, now starting to move into northwestern Arkansas, in and around the Decatur area. Might see a few sprinkles there, and then that will move over towards Bentonville, where they have a few showers just between Pea Ridge and Prairie Creek this morning. Look at these temperatures. Very cool this morning up to the north. Stockton, Nevada, and Fort Scott all with 50 degrees right now. So you might need a light jacket up there. Then you start getting into the upper 50s and lower 60s, and then the mid 60s down in Oklahoma with Veneta and Nowata both checking in with 64. Moisture is going to be limited today, and then as we go into Saturday morning, the dew points are going to be increasing into the 50s, so we'll see some scattered sprinkles and showers on Saturday morning, but then the dry air comes back in for Sunday and Monday. And in fact, looking at the rainfall chances for the next 36 hours, pretty close to zero. So that's pretty good news. And looking at the upper level flow, you can see that we have one storm system that's still up to the north and west. That's going to make its way across our area on Saturday morning, but it's only going to produce just a few widely scattered showers. We have to wait for a much more powerful storm system up in the northwest on Monday that will start to make its way down here as we go into the latter part of next week. In the meantime, rainfall amounts are expected to be very light, if at all. A lot of places won't receive anything with this next system on Saturday. And looking at the forecast for today, partly cloudy skies with highs in the upper 70s, maybe touching 80 degrees in a few spots like Joplin, and southeasterly winds. Then tonight into tomorrow morning, we're going to see lows in the mid-50s, lower 50s up to the north once again, with isolated sprinkles mainly up towards the north and west on Friday afternoon with highs in the upper 70s and lower 80s. And then Saturday morning, we're going to see those scattered sprinkles moving across the area with lows in the 50s and 60s. And then Saturday afternoon, partly cloudy skies with highs in the 70s across the area. And over the next 7 to 10 days, looking pretty good for the weekend with those scattered sprinkles on Saturday morning, but then drier on Sunday and Monday, and then a better chance of showers and storms on Wednesday, and the better chance of storms on Friday and Saturday of next week with highs in the 80s and lows in the 60s. So not a bad forecast at all. Now let's go over to Caitlin with this morning's Health Watch.
Thanks, Sam. People who use both tobacco and marijuana are more likely to report anxiety and depression. That's according to a new study which found those who use both substances reported having both anxiety and depression rates at over 26%, while others not using either substance reported much lower rates. The authors of the study suggest integrating mental health support with tobacco and cannabis cessation programs. 1 in 5 people who rely on Medicare travel 50 miles or more each way to see a neurologist. That's according to the research from the American Academy of Neurology, which found that people with brain cancer, ALS, and MS who require specialized care travel long distances more often. The study, which is just now being published but was conducted prior to the pandemic, did not look at the effects telemedicine could have. And the proportion of U.S. overdose deaths from fentanyl and stimulants has increased more than 50-fold since 2010. Cocaine and methamphetamine have become the most common drugs revealed in fentanyl-related overdoses. UCLA researchers found in 2010 there were just 235 overdoses with fentanyl and stimulants. By 2021, that number was over 34,000. And that's a look at some of today's top health stories. We'll be right back. Right now at 6:30, MSSU looks to expand its mission with the addition of health and life sciences.
And we have a few scattered showers this morning on radar. I'll let you know what that means for our forecast as well as a look at the weekend.
Plus, Mercy Park shows its pride with a new addition to its sculpture garden.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning, 4 states, and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. The time now is 6:29 a.m. I'm Caitlin O'Shaughnessy.
And I'm meteorologist Sam Lane, and it's a pleasant morning out there so far. A little
lovely.
bit chilly in some places,
Yes.
especially up to the north. We'll show you that in a moment. First, let's look at radar and show you a few scattered showers this morning moving across northeastern Oklahoma the last few hours. You can see those moving from west to east. A few scattered sprinkles and showers near Lake Oologah right now moving over towards Chelsea. May start to impact just south of Bonita a little bit. Also some showers in Delaware County are now moving into northwestern Arkansas around Decatur, and that will start to move over to the east along Highway 102 towards Bentonville over the next hour or so, but very few and far between this morning as far as the rainfall. And the allergies, they're a problem today, moderately, 8.8, and then tomorrow a little bit better, 8.4. Most of that being ragweed. If you suffer from hay fever, that's the reason. Nettle and chenopod making up the rest of the pollens. Your forecast for this afternoon looks pretty good. Partly cloudy with highs in the 70s and lower 80s, 75 at lunchtime, 78 at 2 o'clock, 79 at 4 o'clock. And for the bus stop forecast, we're looking at temperatures in the 50s this morning with partly to mostly cloudy skies. And then this afternoon, they come home from school, temperature around 79 degrees with partly cloudy conditions. Looking pretty good today. Partly cloudy, fantastic Friday. And then as we head towards Saturday morning, we may see again some sprinkles and some light showers in the area, but most of the weekend looks pretty good. And then unsettled next week with scattered showers and storms possible at several points. And of course, I'll detail all that for you coming up in the forecast in just a bit. Now let's go over to Caitlin with this morning's news.
Thanks, Sam. The superintendent of the Webb City School District announces his retirement. Dr. Anthony Rossetti has been with the district for 15 years. In a statement posted on the district's Facebook page, Rossetti said, quote, "The success this district has achieved during my term as superintendent goes to the hard work of our Board of Education, our amazing staff and students, and the unwavering support from our community," end quote. His official retirement date is June 30th of next year. The federal government received more than $500,000 in additional Kansas recycling infrastructure projects. The Environmental Protection Agency is making these funds available for Kansas to manage planning, data collection, and implementation of plans. It's courtesy of the bipartisan infrastructure law. The investment totaling $105 million nationwide is a part of the EPA's largest recycling investment in 30 years. Kansas Governor Laura Kelly announces 27 cities will receive a total of $22 million for highway improvements. The money will go to improve intersections and state highways extending through cities as part of the Kansas Department of Transportation's City Connecting Link Improvement Project. In our area, Fort Scott and Pittsburgh will each receive $1.5 million for slope and curve improvements. The city of Girard and Yates Center will each receive $1.5 million for pavement restoration. These funds will become available for the fiscal year of 2026. KCU Joplin provided free health investments to local elementary school students. Fifth grade students from Kelsey, Norman, McKinley, and Irving elementary schools participated in Score One for Health. The preventative health screening program includes dental, blood pressure checks, and physical assessments. For many second-year medical students, this was their first time being face-to-face with real-life patients.
But there's nothing in medicine like really learning how to do that with a live person. And so they are learning, they are also giving. And the kids, I hope, are learning and they are also giving. So it's a really neat exchange.
It's more interesting and they don't use big words as much, so you can understand them better.
If a medical student saw something concerning about their patients, clinical faculty was available to offer support. Mercy Park welcomes a new addition to its Rotary Sculpture Garden. Strength and Courage is the name of the latest sculpture, a bronze lion, joining 19 other sculptures populating the park. The work is by artist Catherine Gray Johnston, who sculpted the park's 2021 edition, Wishing on a Star. For her, Strength and Courage has a personal meaning.
Now we're in the process of filling in between. There's a lot of mass area here to put sculptures, so we just want this to continue to grow and for people to enjoy it.
The garden is the result of a collaboration between Joplin's two Rotary clubs, the Rotary Club of Joplin and the Joplin Daybreak Rotary. The Missouri State Board for Higher Education yesterday approved a new designation for Missouri Southern. Each university in Missouri is given at least one designation for its mission. MSSU's designation has been International and Global Education. This approval clears a major hurdle towards the university adding health and life sciences and immersive learning designations.
So the statewide mission is a way to recognize institutions for a specific strength or focal point within their role within public higher education in Missouri. So, I think the additions of these two certainly hold up some of our strengths in health and life sciences. And that certainly connects with our new Health Science Innovation Center that we're constructing soon.
The designations still need to be approved by the state legislature before taking effect. Lawmakers will consider it next year. And the Missouri Department of Conservation asks hunters to share the harvest. The MDC asked deer hunters to donate deer meat to local food banks and food pantries to help feed hungry Missourians. Donating is easy. Simply take harvested deer to an approved meat processor and let the processor know how much venison to donate. Meat processing fees are covered entirely in part by numerous local sponsors along with statewide sponsors. To get share the harvest venison, contact local food banks or food pantries. And that's a look at our top news stories coming up on this half hour of the KOAM Morning News. Why America is facing a stray pet crisis, with shelters across the country overwhelmed by cats and dogs.
And we have partly cloudy skies this morning in the metro area with some scattered rain showers to our south. I'll let you know what the weekend looks like when we come back right after this. But first, here's a live look at Immigrant Park in Pittsburgh, Kansas this morning. We'll be right back.
Consumer Watch this morning, the technology for a robot revolution may not exist yet, but as artificial intelligence becomes more prevalent, the need for some regulation is mounting. Several tech industry leaders, including Meta's Mark Zuckerberg, Tesla's Elon Musk, and OpenAI's Sam Altman, met with U.S. senators for the first of 9 forums intended to address growing concerns over just what AI can do and how it can be used safely. Karen Kaifa is in Washington with a look at what's at stake.
The future is here. Artificial intelligence is rapidly gaining traction, and now the U.S. government is playing catch up to put safeguards in place.
We're on the cusp of a new industrial revolution with enormous promise, but a panoply of perils.
Nearly a dozen industry leaders, along with several labor unions, civil rights, and entertainment industry representatives, convened on Capitol Hill Wednesday for a forum intended to chart a path toward comprehensive regulation. On the agenda, ways to harness the benefits of AI.
When it comes to fighting cancers, fighting long-term illnesses and so forth, I think AI has real opportunities.
Along with a number of growing concerns, including job protections, national security, copyright, and defending against doomsday scenarios.
What often keeps me up at night is the effect of AI potentially in displacing millions of American workers.
But Gizmodo AI reporter Thomas Germain says apocalyptic fears are just a distraction from problems AI is already creating, like racial bias and facial recognition software and new ways to spread misinformation.
If we're all worried about the robots taking over, then we're not going to be concerned over these, more boring, mundane issues.
Last week, a bipartisan framework for a European-style regulatory agency was introduced in the Senate, a move lauded by many in the tech industry.
Let's prioritize safety and security, which your framework does.
Though some critics are concerned regulation could stifle innovation, the hope is to get ahead of the tech and keep the industry in check.
Legislation is coming whether the tech companies like it or not.
In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
And consumer prices increased for the second month in a row, driven by rising gas prices. The inflation rate was up 3.7% compared to a year ago in August and 0.6% higher than the month before. Gas prices per gallon hit an average of $3.84 last month, a 24-cent increase over July, according to Morgan Stanley. There was one bright point: food prices appear to be easing at the grocery store. And more than 140,000 auto workers could walk off the job if the United Auto Workers Union and the big three U.S. automakers don't reach a deal by late tonight. So far, union negotiators have rejected offers from Ford, GM, and Stellantis while demanding a 46% pay increase and other benefits. A potential auto worker strike that lasts 2 weeks could drive up the cost of a new car by 2%, according to J.D. Power. And this comes as the Detroit Auto Week show kicked off this week. Among the vehicles featured are a flying car created by an Israeli company, which visitors can take a virtual ride in, and Ford F-150's new truck, which features a new grille design and a tailgate that opens flat or swings sideways for easier cargo loading. The new F-150 will go on sale sometime next year with a starting price at just over $35,000. And America is facing a stray pet crisis, with shelters across the country overwhelmed by cats and dogs abandoned by their owners. Michael George looks at why it's happening and what you can do to help.
On the streets of New York City, the number of stray cats has reached a crisis. By some estimates, more than 500,000 cats without a home.
Shelters in New York City had to close intake for cats recently because the problem is so bad.
Will Zweigert runs the nonprofit Flatbush Cats. He says what's happening here is an issue nationwide. Many are handing over their cats and dogs to shelters. A 2022 Forbes survey found more than a third of those who gave up pets said owning them became too expensive.
The real problem is we have a massive affordability crisis for veterinary care everywhere in the U.S. More than 50% of U.S. pet owners can no longer afford a basic vet visit.
Vet care costs rose more than 8% just in the last year.
Vet care has absolutely gone up. You have to keep your pets healthy, like your children, and there's a lot of upkeep with animals.
When stray pet numbers soar, euthanasia rates rise too. The new Flatbush Veterinary Clinic, opening this month, is specifically designed to give affordable pet care and perform 7,500 spay-neuter operations a year. Zweigert says while adoption helps, the real solution isn't talked about enough.
Support spay-neuter efforts. That is a way to get to the root of the issue and actually prevent shelters from being overcrowded.
Giving cats and dogs more space to live the lives they deserve. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
If you'd like to help, experts say the best way is to donate to spay and neuter clinics in your area. And that's it for Consumer Watch. Now let's take it over to Sam Lane for a look at your weather.
All right, thank you very much. We have a few scattered showers this morning moving across northeastern Oklahoma, but they are starting to dissipate just a little bit. And they're moving into northwestern parts of Benton County around Decatur right now. And those will start to move towards Bentonville a little bit later. If you're suffering from allergies, and I know a lot of folks are, it's because it's 8.8 today, which is on the moderate category, most of that being ragweed, which aggravates hay fever sufferers, nettle and chenopod making up the rest of that. Tomorrow, a little bit of an improvement, 8.4 on the scale of 12. And looking at the forecast today, we're looking at partly cloudy skies with a high of around 80 degrees, so we'll call it mild. Around 75 at lunchtime, big great day to have a picnic outdoors. 78 degrees this afternoon, 79 at 4 o'clock. with partly cloudy conditions. Sending out the kids to school this morning, temperatures in the mid-50s with partly cloudy skies. And then when they come home from school this afternoon, around 79 with just a few clouds around. So a very pleasant day. And in fact, we're looking at a partly cloudy day today. Fantastic for your Friday. Then we have some more showers coming into the forecast as we go into Saturday morning. Most of those will be in the morning, but they'll be very light and few and scattered between. And then unsettled next week as we go through the latter part of next week, especially towards next weekend. That's when the next big chance of rain starts to come in. It's almost time to celebrate birthdays and anniversaries. They're up after the break. But first, let's see what's happening this morning on CBS This Morning.
I'm Tony DeCopel. Coming up on CBS Mornings in our Pushing the Limit series, Nate joins the Secret Service to experience the rigorous training for one of the most elite law enforcement agencies in the world. That's coming up on CBS Mornings.
All right, it's time for birthdays, and we're going to kick it off over in Columbus, Kansas. Happy 7th birthday to this little cutie, Leo Clark.
And how about on the Oklahoma side, Quapaw, Oklahoma, Paige Scott celebrating her 10th birthday today. Happy birthday, Paige.
And happy 11th birthday to Gannon Horina in Frontenac, Kansas.
And Cassidy Borland turns 31 years old today. Looking good, Cassidy.
And a big happy birthday to Leah Carroll, who's turning 80 today. Happy birthday, love David and Anna. And it looks like that's going to do
that's
it.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, we need more birthdays and anniversaries.
That's right.
So please send them over to us at birthdays@KOAMnewsnow.com. Be sure to include pictures and any messages you want us to share with you or your loved ones on their special day.
And don't forget, they can also sign up to become a part of our birthday club. Oh, we don't have that anymore? Or we do? We don't? I misspoke. Well, all right, we'll go to our website and check it out, and you will find lots of good things on our website. All right, let's take a look this morning at Indigo Sky Casino and Resort down outside just side of Seneca, Missouri. Just a few partly cloudy skies across the region. Looking at Pittsburgh, we're down to 51 degrees right now. You might need a jacket if you're heading out for a little bit with calm winds, dew point 49, so the humidity's up there at 94%. We do have a few showers on radar, but they're mainly down in Oklahoma this morning. Now they're starting to move into northwestern Arkansas, into western parts of Benton County around Decatur and Gravette. Those will migrate over towards the east, towards Bentonville a little bit later this morning. Temperatures this morning, as I mentioned, are quite chilly. In some areas, 50 in Nevada, Stockton, and Fort Scott, 51 in Iola, 51 in Lamar, and then you start getting into the lower 60s in southeastern Kansas and northeastern Oklahoma, where it's 63 in Bonita and in Nowata, warm spot, Jay at 65. Dew points are going to be low today and tomorrow, but then on Saturday morning, the dew points are going to be in the 50s, which is going to be primarily caused by those isolated sprinkles and showers on Saturday morning. Then the dry air starts to move back in for Saturday evening and Sunday and most of Monday with dew points in the 40s. So it's going to be pretty comfortable out there. Rain chances are going to be pretty close to zero for the next 36 hours. We're going to have to wait for this next storm system, which today is going to be over the Intermountain West. And then as we go through time, this is going to make its move towards us as we go into Saturday, but then rapidly moving off towards the east. And by Sunday and Monday, we'll be under a ridge of high pressure under northwesterly flow. And so that means drier conditions moving back in. And on that Saturday system, we're not expecting a whole lot of rain from that. Maybe a sprinkle or two here or there, maybe 500s down in northeastern Oklahoma with some of the heavier showers on Saturday morning. But today we're going to see partly cloudy skies with highs in the upper 70s, maybe an 80-degree reading here or there. And then as we go into tomorrow morning, lows once again in the 50s, so very comfortable. And then Friday afternoon, partly cloudy skies with highs in the mid-70s. Maybe some more scattered showers up towards the north and west, especially on Saturday morning with lows in the 50s and 60s, and Saturday afternoon looking pretty good. Coming up when the morning news continues, we're going to switch over to Fox 14. A Florida couple welcomed their third daughter this month, but she shares something unique with her two older sisters. We'll have more right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. A Webb City, Missouri man is the last of multiple defendants to plead guilty in a case that involved an abduction in Joplin and a murder in Oklahoma. Ackerson admits he killed Campbell there. by shooting her, cutting her throat, and beating her. He could get up to life in prison without parole. 7 other people from the Joplin area have pleaded guilty for their various roles related to this kidnapping or for conspiracy to obstruct the federal investigation, including threatening witnesses. Oklahoma authorities charge a man in more with murders of 3 people. And John Brian Good was charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder for the death of Jack Grimes, Dwayne Selby, and Dwayne's mother, Glenda Cookie Parton, in Tulsa. Grimes' remains were found in a wooded area on October 31st, 2021. Selby and Parton's remains were last found a month ago. Yesterday, he pled no contest in another homicide case that occurred in Tulsa. He was sentenced to 32 years in that case. A police pursuit of a 34-foot camper turns into a manhunt by Oklahoma authorities. The pursuit began shortly after 11 yesterday morning in Newton County, Missouri. Ottawa County deputies and the Oklahoma Highway Patrol joined Missouri authorities when the pursuit entered the Sooner State. The pursuit ended just south of East 114. There were 2 men in the pickup. 1 male fled on foot and the second was detained. Police K-9 joined officers on foot and ATVs, as well as a police drone and helicopter. You can follow this story on KOAMnewsnow.com as it's a developing story. And that's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
All right, we're looking at partly cloudy skies this morning with just some isolated sprinkles down in northwest Arkansas. But by this afternoon, we'll see partly cloudy conditions with highs in the upper 70s to around 80 degrees in a few isolated spots. Then as we go into tomorrow morning, we're going to see lows in the 50s across the area. And then tomorrow afternoon, looking pretty good with highs in the mid to upper 70s, maybe some isolated sprinkles up towards the north and west. And then as we go into Saturday morning, that's when we're going to see the best chance of sprinkles and light showers across the area with lows in the 50s and 60s. And then Saturday afternoon, looking pretty nice with highs in the 70s with northerly winds bringing in some drier air. And over the next 7 days, we're looking at nice Sunday across the area with a high of 82. And then on Monday, 84, 85 on Tuesday, and then more scattered storms on Wednesday. And then, of course, the better chance of storms, I think, will be next Friday and Saturday. But still, temperatures typical for this time of year in the 80s and upper 70s and lows in the 50s and 60s.
Sounds great. Well, you can either stay here for more CBS News or you can join us over on Fox 14 where your only morning show continues. We have Chief Dustin Luno joining us in studio, and he's here to tell us about the importance of sleeping with your door closed.
That's right. But that'll wrap it up for now. We'll see you back here, right here, bright and early tomorrow morning at 5 a.m.
And we'll see you again today at noon.